Welcome to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm Lynne Golodner, and I've dedicated my life to sharing stories of how people make meaning in their work and find purpose in their lives. On this podcast, we're going to talk about some of the great ideas and activities people do every day to make the world a better place and provide inspiration for others. So much of the meaning we find comes from interacting with great people, developing relationships that are mutually beneficial, and doing work that inspires everyone. I hope you'll be inspired by the people you meet here. We all need to find a way to make meaning in the mundane. Welcome back to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm Lynne Golodner, and we are ready to talk with people about how they make meaning and find purpose. Today, I am talking with Natasha Guynes, who is founder and president of the HER Resiliency Center, a nonprofit social service organization that provides support to vulnerable young women between the ages of 18 and 25. Welcome to the Make Meaning podcast, Natasha.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's such an honor to talk with you. I've been reading up on you and hearing about all of your accomplishments, and there's so much I'd like to talk with you about today, but I'd love to begin by just sharing with our listeners what the HER Resiliency Center is. So can you tell me a little bit about it and what inspired you to create this organization?
Absolutely. HER Resiliency Center is, like you mentioned, an organization that supports vulnerable young women. We like to think of ourselves more of a community of women supporting women than the IRS 501c3, social service status that we have.
Sure.
Because it's really about uplifting and providing the supportive resources that the women we serve need. Many of the women we serve have experienced, various kinds of trauma, homelessness, drug use, sexual exploitation, young motherhood, and we don't have a requirement for them getting to us except that they want and need our support.
Okay.
And the reason for that is my own life experiences where I kept falling further through the cracks, growing up with plenty of trauma in my own childhood, and then working in sex work, and then using drugs and alcohol as a way to cope with that, and then homeless. Before someone said to me, now you're in a place where you need help. And fortunately, that came in the form of a 12-step recovery program for me 17 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I've just tried to take what I've learned in that program and develop it into a community where we support each other unconditionally. We share our stories to help elevate each other out of whatever situation we're in, and also focus on positive things in our lives, so that if someone is down, they can say, well, she did it, I can do it too. And we can learn from one another.
It's such an inspiring story, and there's so much to unpack in what you just said. I have many questions about all of that. You guys are based in D.C., is that right? Washington, D.C.?
We are based in D.C. right now. We're working to possibly expand to other cities, but right now we are based in D.C., yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I know I'd love to sort of go back to a little bit of what you said. I know that you've shared widely details about your own journey and how you had a rough road early in life, which is really brave of you to dare to share those details and those stories to uplift others and really show that they're not alone. I mean, all of us go through traumas and trials, and only by sharing them do we really find a way out of it. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. It's through sharing our experiences that we're able to break down those feelings of shame and isolation and realize that we're not alone in this, and that we can, either someone else has gone through it and learning how they got through it, or just knowing that you have support, and that you don't have to continue going through whatever you may be enduring at that time. And really, it's all about ending and breaking down the barriers of shame and isolation.
Yeah, and how do you do that? How do you take people, step by step through this process of letting go of whatever the past had in it, and starting with today? I mean, where do you begin with that?
I think it's so important. I mean, when the young women come to HER Resiliency Center, it's not for us to define for them what they've experienced. Right. It's about what they're ready to identify, but also what they're actually capable of identifying with at that time. And that's not just about them, that's about humanity. We build these narratives in our head about what happened to protect ourselves. And And so we start with where they are. And I think that's the biggest piece that makes us, one of the biggest pieces anyway, that makes us successful in working with the young women we serve is helping, not saying where they should be or what
Sure.
they should be doing, but, starting with where they are in their lives and on their journey, and about, helping them identify what their goals are, not
Right.
what our goals are, because my goals for someone may be completely different than what they see their next steps to be.
Yeah.
And I think it's just allowing that young woman to be on her own journey. And
Yeah.
I frequently say that, we just happen, me and my team just happen to have a little bit more experience in life than the young women we serve. And we are lucky to get to be a part of their lives and serve as guides to
Yeah.
kind of direct, but really they're in charge of their own journey.
For sure. And it is amazing the discrepancy or the disconnect between people who start life and are on a path with unconditional support, and how lifted up they are and they don't even realize, compared with
Mm-hmm.
other people who just didn't have the good fortune to be born into that type of a scenario. And so it's like from the start, you're overcoming things that you didn't even ask for. But to bring everybody to that same level of starting and seeing possibility, is, and it's really just about possibilities, seeing the possibilities and identifying that every single individual is worthy of carving out that path for themselves. I mean, it's about giving them permission to rewrite the story, really.
Absolutely. One of the things that we like to do, or that we do, is strategically connect the women we serve with mentors. And for
Oh,
me, that was so important in my journey through sobriety. And again, I've just taken what I've learned in sobriety and built it into this community, and that, because not everybody that comes to her needs a 12-step program, but we all
sure.
need the support.
Right.
And so, but for me, like, in the 12-step program, there are so many people from so many various walks of life that, like, I was exposed to so many different opportunities, and connecting with the right people. And that's not even the part about helping me stay sober. That was just the byproduct of, connecting with the fellowship of people who provided me that exposure. But I got to tell you, without those different elements of exposure, I would not be where I am today. And so and as a result, I'm grateful, and I'm trying to help other young women have that same experience.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's truly remarkable what you're doing, and what you're talking about is really, seeing that you can learn from every person you interact with or come across. And I can imagine, you're right about a 12-step program. It's everybody from everywhere, who might have different experiences or connections. And just having a conversation with someone and realizing you can learn from them and they can learn from you is a
Absolutely.
profound starting point, that both people benefit from. It's not just, a young woman who's in a vulnerable situation, because she can also lift up others and teach others. Even she may not realize it, but she really can.
Absolutely. I get so much, and, I'm in a very different place than they are, but I get so much from getting to be a part of their lives.
Uh-huh.
And, I'm frequently told, or the comments are made, that I'm so selfless or not, and I really have no idea how much I get out of this. And while a lot of sacrifices along the way have been made to get her resiliency center to the place it is
Sure.
now,
Sure.
I it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. And I get a lot from getting to be of service. And I get a lot from getting to be a part of the lives of the young women we serve.
That's amazing. That's really wonderful. So I want to go back a little step. And I know you worked in congressional offices before you created this
Yes.
organization. So tell me a little bit about that. Who did you work with, and what were some of the causes or the paths that you carved out when you were working with congressional folks?
One of the exposures that I was kind of alluding to earlier is that in the 12-step program, I met somebody who helped me get my first job on Capitol Hill.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and I mean, I had to get the interview myself, and then they were able to help me, with the next steps. And I am so grateful for that,
Mm-hmm.
because, my first job in the Senate was in Harry Reid's office, the
Okay.
former majority leader, Senator
Wow.
Harry Reid. And I had no idea what I just lucked into. I mean, I knew it was a big deal, and I knew, since I was a kid, I wanted to work in politics, but I had no idea how much that was going to, help me develop the rest of my career.
Hmm. How
And
so?
so
How did it do that?
I was mentored through Senator Reid's office.
Okay.
His former deputy chief of staff didn't even. Now I talk to him, and I'm like, "This is the impact you had in my life." And I never went to him and said, "You did, this was how I saw you," but that is how I connected to him, and
Okay.
he helped me, move along in the office, and but also moving to the next office, and and progressing my career on the Hill after that. And
Sure.
I when I got to Capitol Hill, I wanted to do policy. I was going to do ledge. This is all I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
And my first job was actually answering phones for the senator, which was a great entry level position.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, I need to do something different, and I wanted to go do policy. And I sat down with someone, and they're like, Natasha, you're really good at operations. You're
Oh.
really good at logistics. Let's, maybe consider this different avenue. And I was like, no, policy. But you know what? I am so fortunate that I had that time to assess my strengths,
Yeah.
because, by the time I left the Hill, and I was, working for a different senator, by this time, but like, I was managing multi-million-dollar budgets. I was
Wow.
managing, staff of 40 something individuals. Like, I was running the logistics and the backbone of the United States Senate office.
Hmm.
And it's because, one, I kept my options open, and I was open to hearing, input from other people. But I was also, just because I found good people around me that I could learn from, and
Yeah.
I was willing to show my level of hard work and effort, and as a result, I progressed.
That's really wonderful. Well, so it sounds like keeping options open, being open to possibilities, building mentorship relationships wherever you turn.
Absolutely.
Those are some of those lessons that you took away that you put into HER Resiliency Center, to sort of pay it forward to everybody who comes in contact with you guys.
Absolutely. And, mentorship and exposure cannot, I can't speak enough to it, because it's about those opportunities that, everybody's had a mentor. And, like, think about President Obama.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had mentors along the way, and exposure to opportunities that allowed him to, lay out his foundation, and plan for, becoming president. And, and
Sure.
I just think everybody should have that chance. And
Yeah.
when we deny, youth or other, because just writing them off, going, they're never going to change, or they're going to
Right.
get in trouble for no, we have the opportunity to help them make that change in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, HER Resiliency Center, how many people are on your team, and, how many young women come through your doors on a regular basis?
We have 9
Hmm.
team members,
Okay.
and last year we served about 350 young women.
Wow.
Yes, we have some of that contact has to do with our street outreach team.
Okay.
So we have a street outreach team that goes out between 1 p.m. and 4 a.m.,
Okay.
depending on the time of day, or, day of, well, I guess not time of day, but day of week, time of year,
Sure.
where the police department say they may see high need in certain areas, and we respond. We don't. No, I should definitely say we don't go out with the police department, but they will call us and say,
Hmm.
we see a high level of activity over here. Can you go check it out?
Oh.
And so our street outreach team will respond, and we cover the city on foot. My street outreach director, she she lays out the map and tells the team where they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And they can cover, 5 miles in a night.
Wow.
So, if it's a heavier, time of, more activity, that kind of slows down how far they go, but because it's more about reaching the young women than covering ground.
Yeah.
But they, they do cover the ground, and I'm very proud of them because, we are literally catching, young women and youth in general. Because when we're on the street, we were looking for males and females on the street, but
Okay.
who are literally falling through the cracks.
Hmm.
We don't have a drop-in center where they can just come and hang out. We go, oh, homeless youth accounted for. We are we're talking to older individuals who often serve as gatekeepers
Okay.
to the youth that we meet on the street, to say, we have to earn their trust sometimes. And then they'll
Sure.
say, okay, we have a report. There are two young women in the alley down the street. And then we'll go, okay, thanks for the heads up. And so it's our approach is not just to, target or, zoom in on a youth or a young woman. It's about really talking to everyone anyway. So, so that you aren't targeting, but also you never know who the gatekeepers are. And it's really it's about being strategic to be able to reach as many youth and young women as possible. But last year was great in terms of the growth we had and the amount of young women we were able to reach in various ways. We also do workshops in the community where they'll come and, the skill development workshop of some sort. And it's been really rewarding to see her grow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. Do you have some youth that you've worked with who now are paying it forward and mentoring others? Have you gotten to that point?
We have. Well, we've hired some of the young women we serve.
Oh, well, lovely.
Which has been amazing
Yeah.
for our street outreach team. So that has been remarkable to watch. We have them more in advocate roles right now. The women that worked with us for a long time, not necessarily yet in the mentorship roles, though that is something I'm hoping to be able to develop by the end of this year, is getting the young women who've been with us for the 3 years since we've been open to start mentoring, the next group of young women coming through.
Yeah. And those webs of connection are just growing and expanding like, ripples in a pool. It's just lovely.
Absolutely.
So tell me, when you wake up in the morning and you're going to work and you realize you've built all this and you look back on your journey, what's the one thing that stands out for you? What are you most proud of or excited about?
Most proud of or excited. I'm excited. The reason I'm pausing is not. It's like which one am most?
Tell me all. They're all good.
But I'm proud that I have been able to use those. Yes, I am proud. I'm proud to be. At one point in my life, my story was my biggest. Like, I lived in so much fear and shame of getting caught when I worked on Capitol Hill and getting fired and just hoping no one would know. And now I get to go, and not only do I use it to help, raise awareness for HER Resiliency Center, but I get to use it to connect with the women we serve.
Yeah.
And that is, the most I see impact from it. I see their eyes light up when they hear what I have to say, and then they look at me because I don't necessarily look like the person in the story that I'm describing.
Sure.
And that gives them hope. But you know what? It continues to give me hope. And that, I was in a meeting last night and so that, I made a comment about how when I talk to the young women, or when I talk to anybody really, and even myself sometimes, when things are hard, I have to remind myself and them that, this is going to be hard, but it's doable.
Sure.
And that is what I do not tell the young women of HER when they get to us, like, we're going to do X, Y, and Z for you. It's going to be amazing. We are very honest. that it's going to be a journey, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be doable.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great message. So as we wrap up today, I wanted to ask you what advice you have for our listeners. You know, people could be listening to this from all different starting points. And, you know, what advice would you have for them about finding their purpose and really turning that into the meaning that drives their life?
Yeah. I think it's about going inward. So many people I know, and even for myself for years, didn't really want to look inward to find purpose. I was scared of what I was going to find when I turned inward.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, I did that. And I think that is where I've been able to find my happiness, and learning what I wanted to do next was through looking inside.
Sure.
What I was passionate about. I've always been passionate about women's issues,
Uh-huh.
wanting to help women, you know, not realizing how much help I had needed for so long. But, you know, but being able to look inward and say, what can I contribute? What do I want to contribute? What is my bandwidth? And knowing that it doesn't have to be of conventional standards. I
Sure.
think, you know, we confine ourselves so much to what is acceptable socially that it's like, oh, that's not going to work. And
Right.
I used to run on the treadmill, and I have to say, I hate running.
Oh, me
And
too.
for so many years, I ran because I thought that was the only way I was going to get, acceptable exercise. And I just learned that's not true.
Right.
And this is much the same. You know, it's about, if you come up with something that's outside the box, run with it, because our world probably needs it.
I love it. I love it. So as we wind down, can you share with our listeners how they might either get involved with or support HER Resiliency Center? Should they go to your website, or how can people get involved?
Absolutely. Our website is herresiliencycenter.org. There is there's a tab on there to connect with us, and it goes to our info@herresiliencycenter.org email address.
Great.
Or they can just go to that email address.
Perfect. Well, Natasha Guynes, thank you so much for being with me today on the Make Meaning podcast. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm Lynne Golodner, and I've really enjoyed being here with you today. You can find the Make Meaning podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and I'd love it if you'd share our great conversations with all your people so we can add meaning wherever we go and whatever we do.